Going to the microphone, I will ask for any disclosures of pecuniary interest and the general nature thereof. Seeing none. Okay, there are no delegations today, which brings us down to section 6, reports and briefings. 6.1, Director of Financial Services, the Treasurer, Terrace Lodge redevelopment, construction cost update, August 20th, 2024. Good afternoon, Jen.
Good afternoon, Mr. Warden, through you to the committee. The purpose of the report today is to provide the steering committee with an update on costs incurred to date related to the Terrace Lodge redevelopment project. The committee last received a financial update to June 17th, 2024, and this report provides financial details relative to the project budget actuals to August 20th, 2024. As of August 20th, the paid invoices result in the following budget to actual comparison. So the budget is 35.6 million. To date, we've spent 30.3 million. So that leaves a remainder of $5.3 million to spend. The majority of this money resides in the construction budget. The construction is set aside at 29.6 million. Actuals today is 25.4 million, leaving $4.1 million. The construction invoices that were included in this report were received up to the end of July 31st, 2024. And the cost of construction to that date indicates that the construction is approximately 87% complete. D Grant continues to indicate that they do not expect that this budget will go over the allotted amount and that they should come in under budget. Slightly under budget, I'll say. The July invoice shows that there were 211 change orders allotted to that contingency budget at the time. And the most up-to-date contingency budget numbers for the project will be provided in the financial section of the report by engineering, as they're keeping track of this on a daily basis and to ensure completion and compliance of those change orders and to ensure that we're not going over budget on that line item. Consulting services include MMMC, Gale, Kaufman, Carlin, and Fourth Rail. Other includes technology, furniture, fixtures, and miscellaneous items, which are outside of the costs covered by the direct construction of the facility. Under financing, the most recent rate that we have is 4.41, which has dropped a little bit since our last report of 4.69. And we anticipate that the rate will still continue to decline now that the CPI has dropped down to 2.5%. And we are encouraged by this, and hopefully this will continue to decline by the time we take out the funding of 25 million that we need to borrow. That's the end of my report, Mr. Warden. If there's any questions, I'd be happy.
Okay, thank you very much for that, Jen. Does anyone have any questions for the treasurer? Yes, Councillor Cookett.
Thank you, Mr. Warden, Mr. Chair. The cost of interest you're saying is 4.41%. Up to this point, we've only borrowed $1 million. That's correct. And so, are we kind of waiting to borrow more for the interest to drop?
Through you, Mr. Warden, to Councillor Cookett. Yes, that is the case. So once we take out the money, we will have to commit to an interest rate in a timeline, and that will secure our position, but it's not negotiable after that point. So we do have a construction fund that we can lean on if we do require it. However, we have been leaning on our own money so that we don't have to do that, and it is saving us interest on the back end as far as not having to pay interest for the loan, but we are losing a bit of interest because we're not able to invest at this time. So
how long can we wait before we actually have to commit fully?
Through you, Mr. Warden, we only have 120 days after full completion of the project. So we do have to be ready to commit at that time. So the longer we can wait, the better.
Okay, thank you for that, Jen. Any additional questions? Yes, please, Jack.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The contingency budget, is that part of the budget that you're showing somewhere? Is it in construction or those? Is there a separate line for it?
Within the construction budget, there's, I don't know, 900 line items, and the contingency fund is one of those line items. We do have to look at every single line item because they do have it allocated specifically to certain things like buying tubs, buying this, buying that. So wherever we can pull funding from to help that contingency fund, we make sure that D Grant is aware, or they let us know that they have some available funds that they're not going to be allocating because they're fully spent on those line items. So there's little pockets sitting there of like 20,000, which we think that we can reallocate here and there for some of the purpose of the contingency fund at this time. So right now, we're just working with them on a daily basis to make sure that we don't go over, but everything is contained within the construction budget that we allocated at the beginning of the project.
Okay, anything additional? Yeah, Councilor Whitner.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Through to Jen. Jen, is there any kind of holdback built into this deal?
Through you to Councillor Winner, yes, we do have 10% holdbacks on all of the payments that we've made so far. I believe we've released some of them, but not all of them.
Okay. All right, thank you for that. Just a technical issue here. Councilor Noble, can you hear us? Is there any way you can give us an indication?
Yes. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. We don't see you, but we can hear you.
Yeah, I don't, my camera's on like it always is, but it doesn't seem to be working, so.
Just a disembodied voice. Perfect. Do you have any questions for Jen at this point, Todd?
No, I don't. Thank you.
Okay. So the short story then, Jen, is that we're on budget, or within budget, I should say. And things are still hopeful that we will keep it contained within that budget. Okay, thank you for that. If there are no further questions, then Catherine, you have a resolution for us.
Resolved that the report titled Terrace Lodge Redevelopment Construction Costs Update, August 20th, 2024, from the Director of Financial Services Treasurer dated August 20th, 2024, be received and filed.
Okay, anyone want to move that? Councillor Widner will, and Councillor Crooked will second it. Just give your approval, Todd, by speaking out, please.
Yes.
All in favor? Good. Mark's not. That's carried. Thank you. 6.2, from the Manager of Corporate Facilities and Director of Homes and Senior Services, Terrace Lodge Redevelopment, August 2024 Project Update and Family Suite HVAC. Ryan, you're going to lead us off on that?
Yeah. Good afternoon, through you, Mr. Warden, to the committee. The purpose of this report is to provide steering committee with an update on the status of the Terrace Lodge redevelopment project in relation to phase 3 of the project, and seek support and to proceed with the proposed change orders 229 and 243 totaling $99,898.99. As previously communicated to the steering committee, temperatures and humidity readings throughout the home continue to be a concern. County staff continue to work with MMC Architects, the county's architect, and Smith & Anderson's electrical and mechanical engineering, as well as JLL, the county's independent commissioning consultant, to ensure that the building is constructed as designed. On August 14th, 2024, Smith & Anderson, JLL, and the county staff conducted an audit of all systems to derive the root cause of all temperature and humidity concerns. Their findings were found that the room temperature had discrepancies on the thermostats by about 2 to 3 degrees. The thermostats in the rooms also were out approximately by 10% relative humidity. And this is kind of alarming because there's 100 rooms or 100 beds in the home, and all of these thermostats are all out. So JCI is in the process of recalibrating all these thermostats. So when in fact the room being 25 degrees reading on the, or if it's reading 22 degrees and it was actually 24 or 25 degrees Celsius, making it feel way warmer. So I can understand now the concerns why staff were having the issues, or staff and residents were having the concerns. And not only that, if we turn on further cooling, this will allow further dehumidification as well when we have the cooling season going. Third thing that they brought to our attention was the fact that the chiller is turning on at 6.4 degrees, which as per design. And so it'll cool the water down to 6.4 degrees. The water feeds all the vertical fan coils. It'll turn on at 6.4 and it'll shut off at 12.7. Smith and Anderson believes that it shouldn't be turning off at such a high pace. So we're sending the vertical fan coils a warmer water than anticipated. So once we get the, which is supposed to happen today, once we have the completion of the thermostat calibration complete, then secondly, they're going to start addressing the concerns with the chiller. The fourth issue that they brought to our attention was between the construction area of the of D Grants and our home. There is no vapor barrier between those areas, so it's allowing outside humidity into the facility, which will be addressed once all complete. Proposed change order 229 includes repurposing the split air conditioning units that were moved from the upper and lower nursing stations and installing ductwork throughout the family suite area and adding an HRV unit as a heat recovery ventilator. Unit for fresh air. County staff inquired for more cost-effective solutions, and Smith and Anderson believes that the proposed solution is the most effective. Prior to tender, the drawings were sent out as built drawings of the initial building. It showed ductwork going to the family suite area. During an investigation, it was found that the ductwork was actually further removed. We did look at extending the ductwork into that area to as it previously was, but it's a 5-ton rooftop unit that's feeding the front entrance, and they don't believe that it will be sufficient. We would have to upgrade the rooftop unit. So they believe that the current approach is of this change order is the most cost-effective solution for proposed change order 229. We'll further look into it once we can do a further analysis once we move out and we pull out the existing ACM in the Malahide room, which will uncover, we can't access that ceiling currently. It'll give us some further analysis so we can see what's above the ceiling in the Malahide area to see if we can extend the ductwork from the opposite way. For proposed change order 243, it includes the abatement and removal of an additional framing required for the acoustic drop ceilings and reinstate gypsum board to meet Ontario Building Code. During the tendering process, there was allowances were, sorry, I missed a step there. During the tendering process, they didn't intend on putting, because they thought there was ductwork already there, in order to put the ductwork in place and to architecturally attach all the framing for the Malahide into the physio areas. That's going to be reinstated as a repurposed area. They need to pull out the ceiling to attach all the structural. So that wasn't caught during the tendering process. We've inquired to see if they can do a more cost-effective approach by removing less ACM, asbestos-containing material. Through the engineering, they believe that removing what they've allocated in the site report is to be the proper amount, and then it'll have a clean report. It'll clean up the report as well. So that's 243. The financial implications on those for both PC 229, it was 62 for the HVAC was $62,000, 901.78 cents. And for the PC 243, which is a family suite architectural modification, was $36,000, $997.21. The two of those PCs totaled $99,898. Our allotted contingency budget that was left over. So the total amount of the contingency budget was allocated at $1,680,671. Of the 217 change orders, we have left $256,443. If we remove further the $99,898, it'll leave us with $156,544 remaining in our contingency budget. Another part of that, further to Jen's allowances stuff, we've also noticed that during the tendering processes, allowances were created for individual pieces of the project. The project allowances for moisture mitigation for the flooring in the existing home was set for $67,675 for phase 2 and 3. If moisture content beneath the floor is too high, it could cause the flooring to lift or sweat. To derive the most appropriate method for flooring sealing, a sampling of moisture was conducted. The results came back higher than expected. The cost to seal the floor for phase 2 came in at $41,787, leaving the remaining allowance of $25,887. It is expected that the phase 3 would be roughly the same cost. This allowance would have a shortfall of approximately $16,000. This fund with shortfall is recommended to reallocate an existing allowance for patient lifts, which was $204,300. That contract was awarded to Arjo, costing $164,300. So that Arjo patient lift budget still has a surplus of $40,000. Where we would like to fund the moisture mitigation with the remaining budget of the patient lift of $40,000. Staff recommend that the proposed change order 229 family room HVAC coordination and 243 family room family suite architectural modifications be approved at a total cost of $989,000 plus HST. Staff also recommend that the remaining $40,000 patient lifts from Terrace Lodge redevelopment project that was awarded to Arjo, costing $164,300, be allocated to the phase 3 moisture mitigation allowance. Staff also recommend that this report be received and filed. Happy to answer any questions at this time.
Thank you for that report, Ryan. Does anyone have any questions?
I do, Mr. Warden. Sorry, I can't find the hand icon on the display here either. So I'm just gonna put my hand up, but I can't do that.
Saying it out is the best for me. So
Okay.
please go ahead.
Just one concern that we've been struggling with this AC now for a couple years and we haven't got it fixed yet. And if we're going forward, like we're getting close to fall, so how are we gonna know that when it's actually fixed and what's the warranty on it?
Great question. Sorry, through you, Mr. Warden, to the committee. Great question. We've been documenting all this stuff through emails and project meeting minutes. So we do have a case to stand on for in the event that we do not resolve the issues. I do believe that we are getting close to finding a resolution. I think the findings back on August 14th, I believe they're a good finding. If we could lower the temperature in the home by 2 to 3 degrees, I believe we can pull out more humidity and then the home will be more comfortable.
Thank you. Just one other question about the extra for the ductwork that they thought was there. Who's responsible for the ductwork not being there? Like if they're doing a project like that and we're putting all this money into it and all the engineers and everything, and they've quoted it all, and now after we get into it, we find out it's missing some parts. Is that on us or is that on a project manager or an engineer? Just a question through you, Mr. Warden.
Through you, Mr. Warden, to the committee. We've asked that question to legal in the past, and it was brought up that if it was not part of the contract, we would still pay for the cost to have it put in. So there would be no legal setbacks is kind of what legal's told me in the past. But we're documenting all the change orders, and we will sit down with our legal team at the end and see if there's any warrant or any reason for any remedial.
Okay, thank you, Ryan.
Okay. Any additional questions? It's a minor one, but I'm going to ask it anyway. 217 change orders so far, and yet we're approving change order 243, 229. I don't understand the numbering.
Through you, Mr. Warden, some of the change orders that they propose, we get costing, and either A, take it upon the county to contract it out at a lower cost, or B, we forego the proposed changed.
Okay, so, okay, I understand how you're getting there now. Some of them, not all change orders have been accepted.
That's correct.
Thank you. Anything else from anyone? Okay, Catherine, please.
Resolved that the report titled Terrace Lodge Redevelopment, August 2024 Project Update and Family Suite HVAC from the Manager of Corporate Facilities and Director of Homes and Senior Services dated August 20th, 2024 be received and filed, and that the proposed change order 229 Family Room HVAC Coordination at a costing of $62,901.78 be approved, and that the proposed change order 243 Family Suite Architectural Modifications at a costing of $36,997.21 be approved, and that the remaining $40,000 for patient lifts that was awarded to Arjo at a costing of $164,300 be allocated to the Phase 3 moisture mitigation allowance.
Okay, motion's before you. Who's willing to move and second? Counselor Cookett will move. Counselor Widner will second. All in favor?
Yes.
That's carried. Thank you. Brings us to 6.3 from the Manager of Corporate Facilities, Terrace Lodge Redevelopment Phase 3 Kitchen Servery Cooling. Ryan, please.
As previously communicated last through Mr. Warden to the committee, as previously communicated at the last steering committee meeting, county staff took it upon themselves to install split air conditioning units in the resident home area kitchens. After we've taken occupancy, we realized that there was no heating or cooling or proper ventilation in those areas. Staff had excessive heat. We had excessive humidex readings of over 45%, where we had to give heat breaks. So we took it upon ourselves. We sought quotation from D Grant. The costing came in far superior than wanted. Because the area was already handed over to the county, we took it upon ourselves, and we were able to put a split air conditioning unit in for approximately $20,000. For Phase 3, the area is not handed over to the county, and we would like to have it done as part of the project. And the reason being is they could run all the condensing lines into the interior walls, opposed to having to surface mount them on the exterior of the building. And it would all be tied into our systems so that it's more functional, opposed to doing a retrofit after the fact. Costing has come in higher than anticipated. Costing came in at $32,000, $541 plus HST. The request is the approval to move forward with the installation of the split air conditioning units for Phase 3. At this time, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you for that, Ryan. Any questions from committee members? Yes, Councilor Widner.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you to Ryan. Ryan, the 32,000 seems really high for what we're getting. Was there tender sent out or votes or whatever? How did that work?
Through you, Mr. Warden of the committee. If it's part of the project, it doesn't follow the procurement process. Like if it's over $15,000, we receive 3 quotes. All the bids, what happens is through the process is an RFI goes out, the RFI comes back, the engineer puts together how it's supposed to happen, like for all the drawings, what they want to see for the installation. And then after that, it all goes sent out to all the contractors. The contractors bid on the work. Once all the quotes come back in from the contractors, the engineers review all the costing associated with it. They give it a blessing or throw it back at the contractors for revised costing. If they've looked at the costing. They believe the costing is fair and adequate based upon the hours that's allocated to it, the cost of the equipment. It is higher than what we kind of wanted to see, but this would allow us to oppose the surface mounting stuff on the exterior of the building. We would allow all the cooling lines to be core drilled for the floors and be put in a more in a permanent manner.
Councilor
Okay,
Whitner.
thank you for that. And this is still the 150 square feet though, is that still correct? Okay, I mean, it is what it is. You've had some tender process, so just seems like a lot of money for what we're doing, but anyway, thank you.
Any additional questions? And this is all contained within contingency as well. Mhm.
Sorry. Yes, they would all be contained in the contingency allowance. It would further deplete the allowance to $124,000, $124,003.87.
Okay, thank you for that. Any additional questions from committee members? Okay, seeing none.
Resolved that the report titled Terrace Lodge Redevelopment Phase 3 Kitchen Servery Cooling from the Manager of Corporate Facilities dated August 22nd, 2024 be received and filed, and that Phase 3 servery cooling for the resident home area kitchens be approved at a cost of $32,541.07 plus HST.
Mover and seconder, please. Counselor Cookett will move. Counselor Whitner will second. All in favor?
Yes.
Okay, that's carried. All right, on our agenda, it indicates that we have a closed meeting session, but the only thing to be approved under that closed meeting session are the minutes from the last meeting. I will ask the committee members at this point, is there anything you wish to discuss of or within those closed minutes? Because if not, then we can approve those minutes in the open. No, they didn't. They approved the other minutes. We didn't approve those. You didn't read that motion. I did. And I missed it. So if no one has any reason to go into closed minutes to discuss or closed session to discuss those closed minutes, why don't we just approve them in the open? Okay, will that work for you? Okay, Madam Clerk, have you got a motion to read?
Resolved that the closed session minutes of the June 25th, 2024 Terrace Lodge Redevelopment Steering Committee meeting be adopted.
Mover and seconder.
I can move that.
Counselor Noble will move it and Counselor Widner will second. All right, and they're all approved or all in favor of that, so we're carried. Perfect, thank you. That brings us to the end. And surely we can come up with something to talk about for the next 25 minutes just to accommodate Counselor Widner. Adjournment motion, please.
Resolved that we do now adjourn at 3:35 PM to meet again at the call of the chair.
Mover and seconder, Counselor Widner and Counselor Cookett. All in favor?
Yes.
Okay. Again, thank you very much for tuning in, Counselor Noble, and for all committee members. Thank you for attending today for this update. To staff, thank you very much for the good work. Carry on. Let's get this project done. And with that, I adjourn the meeting.